Have you ever considered that the most earth-shattering secrets aren't always buried deep? That sometimes they're hidden, like right in plain sight, just waiting for the right eyes to find them?
Hmm.
Today, we're embarking on a journey, really, into a story where one unassuming letter ignites this whole chain reaction. Intrigue, murder, and a profound challenge to centuries of established history.
Yeah, and our sources today, they lay out an incredible investigation. It's a true deep dive led by two really astute minds, Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes, looking into the sudden, very mysterious death of an eccentric archaeologist.
Right.
What starts out as, a seemingly simple favor just rapidly spirals. It becomes this complex case with ancient texts, deep-seated family feuds, and a conspiracy aiming to keep some powerful truths buried.
And our mission for you today is to meticulously follow those breadcrumbs. We'll trace the path from, say, a carefully folded set of clothes found by a river, all the way to a shocking discovery in a secret compartment of this inlaid box. We're going to piece together how a suspicious death exposed a secret so potent it could, well, reshape our whole understanding of early belief systems. Get ready for some serious revelations, because this story, it really delivers.
It definitely does.
So our story truly takes off with the unannounced arrival of a remarkable woman, Dorothy Ruskin.
An archaeologist, right?
That's her, a truly unique individual, known for her distinctive style, this idiosyncratic take on early suffragist fashion.
Loose pantaloons, those iconic black-lensed glasses.
Exactly. And she just unexpectedly turned up at Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes' Sussex home. And she certainly didn't arrive empty-handed.
Okay, so what did she bring?
She brought this beautiful, intricately carved Italian wooden box, maybe 6 inches long, crafted from this finely textured blonde wood.
Wow.
It had a miniature frieze on it, animals, vegetation. You could see an amber-eyed lion, a tiny palm tree. You could even spot where, like, a few jet spots were missing from a giraffe figure.
Huh. A real piece of art. Definitely Renaissance Italian. And inside this exquisite box, a delicate, rolled-up papyrus manuscript.
And the contents of this papyrus, I mean, this is the core of it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The contents are nothing short of explosive. The text itself was badly stained, deeply worn, primarily Greek, but with some Aramaic passages.
And it claimed to be.
It purported to be a letter from Miriam, an apostle of Joshua, or Jesus the Anointed One, addressed to her sister in the town of Magdala.
Mary Magdalene, as an apostle.
Precisely. The immediate implications are just, well, staggering. While many contemporary experts at the time dismissed it, said it was a forgery.
Which you'd expect, maybe.
Right. But Dorothy Ruskin, who was a highly respected manuscript expert herself, she was absolutely convinced it was authentic.
What was her reasoning?
Well, she argued that if you actually read the Greek Testament carefully and sort of put aside these later, more restrictive definitions of who could be an apostle, the idea of Mary Magdalene holding such a role becomes not just possible, but, historically plausible. In fact, she was even referred to as the apostle to the apostles in some traditions, as late as the 12th century.
So this isn't just about reevaluating one historical figure.
Not at all. It fundamentally challenges the whole patriarchal narrative of early Christianity. It suggests a foundational role for women that was maybe systematically suppressed.
Wow. Imagine what proving that could mean. Our understanding of centuries of doctrine, power structures.
Exactly. If it's authentic, it changes things significantly.
Okay, so after this truly momentous visit, Dorothy Ruskin left. Abruptly, you said.
Just as abruptly as she arrived. And then, a short time later, the shocking news broke.
How did they find out?
Mary Russell actually stumbled upon it, a small filler clipping in the London Times. It detailed the discovery of clothing of a tall, thin woman, found carefully folded on the cushions of a punt.
A punt, like those flat-bottomed boats.
Exactly, the ones you pull along shallow rivers. Her glasses were carefully placed right on top of the clothes. No suicide note mentioned.
So the initial report sounds like an accident. Drowning.
That was the public report, yes. Seemingly accidental drowning. But the peculiar details around this supposed accident immediately raised some red flags.
Oh, jazz.
Well, for instance, the pole, the punting pole. It was still in the boat. Yet, downstream from Oxford, where this happened, the river actually becomes too deep for a punter to reach the bottom.
That's odd. How would the boat end up adrift if the pole's inside and you can't pull?
Good question. And even more curious, when the police dusted the punt for prints, they found two sets, both from people with long, thin hands.
So 2 sets.
Yes. One set seemed larger, likely male. The other had this distinctive scar across one of the finger pads. And crucially, those scarred prints, They were found directly on Dorothy's glasses.
On the glasses,
Yeah.
placed on top of the clothes. Okay, that's starting to sound less like an accident.
Definitely. And this is where the plot really thickens. Those scarred fingerprints from the punt, they actually matched prints found in a filthy old clay pipe. And that pipe had been in the very trunk Dorothy had brought with her manuscripts.
The same trunk she showed them, with the papyrus box.
The very same. This discovery instantly shifted the whole narrative. From tragic accident to, well, a carefully staged death, someone was clearly trying to make it look like something it wasn't.
So the punt scene was entirely faked, a setup.
An elaborate fabrication, yes, because the actual cause of Dorothy's death, as it turned out, was something else entirely. A hit-and-run traffic accident in London.
In London, not near the river at all.
Not at all. Mary Russell identified her later from a police notice. It described an elderly woman with deeply bronzed skin and blue eyes, wearing brown pantaloons and coat, a white blouse, and heavy lace boots. That was Dorothy.
Damn that timing.
The accident happened late Wednesday evening, which means the river discovery, reported earlier, had to be a deliberate smokescreen, designed purely to mislead.
Wow, that's chillingly calculated. How did this news hit Mary Russell and Holmes?
Well, the news of Dorothy's violent death, especially the hit-and-run aspect, resonated really deeply with Mary Russell.
Why specifically?
She'd personally experienced the trauma of a serious automobile accident in her own past. So the sudden, brutal end for Dorothy, it ignited this fierce determination in Mary to uncover the truth. For her, yeah, this case became intensely personal.
I can imagine. So where do they even start untangling this web of lies? The fake scene, the real hit and run?
Well, Mary Russell's initial investigation began with another disturbing discovery. Dorothy's hotel room. It had clearly been searched after her death.
How did she know?
A maid's testimony was absolutely crucial here. The maid revealed that specific drawings she remembered a fertility figure, a war chariot, had been looked through and put back straight in a stack of papers.
Put back straight.
Yes, and the maid noted Dorothy herself was not that tidy with those papers. So this meticulous restacking wasn't just casual tidying. It was a clear sign someone had deliberately rummaged through her belongings after she was already dead.
Okay, so someone was looking for something specific in her hotel room. That's a strong indicator. Were there other leads?
Oh, yes. Dorothy had a dinner engagement scheduled with a certain Colonel Edwards.
Colonel Edwards.
Right. The maitre d' at the restaurant where they were supposed to meet observed that Edwards was visibly taken aback when he met Dorothy. Apparently, he'd been expecting a man.
Interesting. And their conversation.
Intense. The maitre d' overheard bits about some papers. He also noted Edwards even had to leave the room at one point, ostensibly to make a phone call.
But the maitre d' suspected otherwise.
He did. He thought it was more to have a drink by himself and get back under control. Dorothy, meanwhile, seemed quite amused by his reaction. And significantly, she left the restaurant carrying his large brown leather briefcase, which apparently had DR initials on it. Dorothy Ruskin.
She took his briefcase. Okay, that's another strange detail. And then things got even closer to home for Russell and Holmes, right?
They did. As if a searched hotel room wasn't enough, their own Sussex cottage was ransacked.
Ransacked? How badly?
The description is vivid. As if a huge, impersonal giant had shaken the room vigorously.
Good grief. What were the intruders looking for there? Was it the papyrus?
That's what you'd think, but no. They were specifically after papers, written in foreign alphabets, and those taken up with chemical and mathematical symbols.
Foreign alphabets, so not just ancient texts.
Exactly. What's really telling is the pattern. They discarded Greek text. Remember, the Merriam letter was Greek, but they took Hebrew, Old German, Latin, even copies of Egyptian hieroglyphics in Coptic texts.
That's indiscriminate.
It is. It tells us something critical about whoever did this. They weren't necessarily hunting for one specific valuable manuscript like the Merriam letter. They seemed to be grabbing anything that looked foreign or academic.
But suggesting maybe they didn't know exactly what they were looking for?
Precisely. It suggests they were likely operating with limited knowledge, driven by a broader, perhaps even desperate agenda, rather than a single, precise target. Maybe looking for any potentially compromising or valuable document Dorothy might have had.
This whole investigation really highlights the partnership between Russell and Holmes, doesn't it? Especially Mary Russell's role.
Absolutely. Her undercover work in Colonel Edwards' house was a masterstroke, really.
Tell us about that. She posed as someone else.
Yes, as Mary Small, a young secretary appearing, outwardly naive, maybe a bit unprotected, but determined. She even strategically dressed to be innocently seductive, hoping to disarm him.
A calculated move?
Very. Her mission was simply to soak up every possible detail about Edwards. His habits, his temperament, his contacts, every little move. Classic Holmesian infiltration, but executed perfectly by Russell.
And while she's doing that, other information starts coming in.
Yes, another layer of complexity gets added thanks to Sherlock's brother, Mycroft Holmes.
Ah, Mycroft. What did he uncover?
He provided some vital background on Dorothy Ruskin herself. Turns out, she wasn't just an archaeologist. She had served with British intelligence during World War I.
Really? As what?
A courier and translator. She'd cultivated friendships with various Arab leaders during that time.
Okay, that adds a whole new dimension. Politics.
And it gets more specific. Mycroft revealed that Dorothy visited a Zionist organization in London just 2 days before her death. Tuesday evening.
What was discussed there?
Apparently, the Ibn Ahmadi family's land, a specific piece of territory, and Dorothy had apparently foreseen an escalation of hostilities in the region.
So her death wasn't just personal or about an ancient manuscript, maybe. It could have had significant geopolitical implications.
Exactly. Suddenly you have potential motives swirling around ancient religious texts, personal vendettas, and international politics and land disputes. The plot just keeps getting thicker.
As the investigation went deeper, a crucial family connection emerged, didn't it? Dorothy's sister.
Erica Rogers, yes. And what really set off alarm bells for the investigators was Erica's incredibly unusual reaction when she was informed about her sister's death.
What did she say?
She just calmly stated, "I knew she was dead." Felt her go.
You felt her go. That's odd. Almost chillingly detached.
Extremely odd. That strange response immediately made her a person of serious interest.
And around the same time, they were digging into Colonel Edwards' past.
They were. And they uncovered a truly shocking history there. His wife had died back in 1919, officially from childbirth fever.
Okay.
But the investigators found out she was brought to the hospital by a woman dressed as a man, potentially someone named Annie Graves, who was reportedly her lover.
His wife had a female lover in 1919.
Yes. And get this, Annie Graves herself was later killed in a hit-and-run accident.
Another hit and run, just like Dorothy.
Eerily similar. And they found evidence that Colonel Edwards had learned about this affair from Annie Graves' manager back in March 1919, shortly before his wife's death.
So this reveals a potential pattern for Edwards. Violence linked to women in his life, perhaps women challenging norms, maybe a deep-seated misogyny.
It certainly paints a disturbing picture and provides a powerful, long-standing potential motive for him being involved in Dorothy's death, too.
Okay, so many threads. Edwards, the political angle, the sister. How did Russell and Holmes finally pin down the truth about Dorothy's actual accident, the hit and run, given all the misdirection?
It was a really pivotal moment actually involving hypnotic therapy. Mary Russell used it with a witness, a Miss Sarah Chessman.
Hypnosis? Did it work?
Remarkably well. Under hypnosis, Miss Chessman vividly recalled seeing a beggar man near the pillar box, right at the accident scene. But she said he wasn't old, he looks young, wore a knit cap, and had a distinctive, sharp nose.
What was he doing?
She saw him just standing there, winding yarn into a ball, which is strange in itself. Then, after the accident, a car with no numbers on the back of it, no license plate pulled up and picked him up.
And someone was in the car.
Yes, she saw a small person leaning back to hold the door open for this beggar man.
Okay, the beggar man detail. That sounds crucial. Does it connect back to anything?
It absolutely does. It's the key that unlocks it all. That description, young man, sharp nose, combined with the earlier clue of the scarred hands from the glasses on the punt, and the pipe found in Dorothy's trunk.
The pipe with the matching scarred prints.
Exactly. It all led them straight to one person. Jason Rogers.
Jason Rogers. Who is he?
Erica Rogers' grandson. Dorothy Ruskin's grandnephew.
The sister's grandson. So the beggar man in London, the guy winding yarn, and the person who left the scarred prints on the punt. They were the same person. Jason Rogers.
Precisely. This meticulously connects all the dots. It proves the punt incident was definitely a diversionary tactic staged by Jason, and the real murder, the hit and run in London, was a calculated act, orchestrated by Erica, the grandmother, and carried out by Jason and presumably that small person in the car as an accomplice.
Unbelievable. So it was a sister all along, but why? Just inheritance.
Well, that brings us to the ultimate, really breathtaking reveal. Holmes and Russell finally examined that Italian box again, and they discovered a secret compartment.
In the box Dorothy brought, there was more.
There was. Inside this hidden compartment, they found another letter from Dorothy. This one written in Paris, expressing this haunting premonition of her own death.
She knew she was in danger.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And crucially, alongside that letter was a holograph will,
Meaning entirely handwritten by her?
entirely handwritten and signed by Dorothy herself, which makes it legally very strong, very difficult to dispute.
And the contents of the will?
It left her entire, quite considerable estate, not to her family, not to Erica, but entirely to support the archaeological effort in Palestine. It even specified names and locations for the funding.
It completely disinherited Erica Rogers.
Completely. And so the motive becomes starkly clear, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Erica Rogers described as cunning and very, very canny.
Right. Not necessarily brilliant, but shrewd. She orchestrated her sister's murder, using her grandson Jason and an accomplice, specifically to prevent that will from ever being enacted.
And maybe to get her hands on something else, too. You mentioned the land dispute papers.
It's possible she was also hunting for some other paper entirely, perhaps related to that Ibn Ahmadi family's land discussion Dorothy had. Erica went to incredible length, creating a false alibi with her daughter-in-law covering for her, even trying to plant that red herring about an imaginary but plausible group of Arabs named Mud to throw everyone off.
All driven by greed and the desire to stop that will.
Her desperation to secure the inheritance, yes. It drove her to murder and this incredibly elaborate cover-up.
So, after all this unraveling, the truth comes out. What happened to everyone involved? And what about the Merriam letter itself?
Well, in the immediate aftermath, Jason Rogers, the grandson, was arrested. But he later escaped custody and actually died himself in a car crash.
Wow. Poetic justice, almost. And Erica.
Erica Rogers suffered a massive seizure shortly after everything came to light. She spent the remainder of her life incapacitated in a nursing home. So the truth was uncovered, yes. But it wasn't all neat and tidy, and not all of it became public knowledge immediately.
And the papyrus, the Merriam letter. Did it finally see the light of day?
Ah, the fate of the Merriam letter. That's perhaps the most profound and maybe controversial part of this whole story. Mary Russell made the incredibly difficult decision to keep it hidden.
She hid it after everything. Why?
She delayed its publication for decades. Her reasoning, as recorded, was deeply considered. She firmly believed that, quote, the sure knowledge that one of Jesus' apostles was a woman would shake the Christian world to its foundations.
Go on.
And set off a bitter, bloody civil war from one end of the church to the other. She concluded, essentially, that the world at that time was simply not ready to handle such a monumental, potentially divisive revelation.
Wow. Imagine the weight of that decision. Holding a document that could literally rewrite history, understanding its power, and then choosing secrecy for the sake of, well, societal peace, I suppose.
It's an extraordinary burden of knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah.
A real testament to the perceived power contained in those ancient words.
So that raises the obvious question. Is the world ready now? What do the sources say about its status today?
Well, the postscript to our sources touches on exactly that. It notes that scientific study of ancient documents has made huge strides in the decades since. Chemical analysis, carbon dating, textual analysis.
And have these tests been applied to the letter?
The implication is yes, and crucially, none of these modern tests have apparently cast any degree of doubt on Mary's letter. Its authenticity, according to these accounts, holds up.
So it might actually be real.
The sources strongly suggest so. And they argue the world is arguably better equipped to deal with the revelations now. We have, for instance, growing historical knowledge of things like women as heads of synagogues in the early centuries, other facts that challenge traditional narratives.
So mindsets have shifted, perhaps.
Perhaps. The narrative concludes on a hopeful, yet still cautious note, something like, perhaps before too many years, my heir will judge the world ready to see Miriam's letter. It speaks to this ongoing evolution, in our understanding and maybe our acceptance of history's complexities.
So from the exquisite details of a mysterious antique box to the chilling precision of a staged hit and run, we've traced this really winding path. Murder, deceit, and a revelation that literally spans millennia. This deep dive really shows us how a single ancient voice, Miriam's voice, can still whisper profound truths through the ages, even if those truths are initially perceived as too powerful, maybe too revolutionary to be fully heard at first.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? The hands that write, whether they're writing on papyrus 18 centuries ago or drafting a legal, well, today they possess this incredible power that it extends far beyond their own lifetime.
That's a great point.
These words, they're capable of condemning or inspiring, or, as we saw in this case, potentially shaking the very foundations of understanding. It really challenges us to consider, what responsibilities do we have as inheritors of such powerful words and stories? Responsibility is to discern their truth, perhaps protect them, and maybe choose the right moment for their revelation.
A heavy responsibility indeed. Which leaves us and you with this thought. What truths do you believe are still out there, waiting to be uncovered in our world? And what impact might they have when they finally, inevitably, see the light of day?